Pop-Tart ball is upon us. Georgia Tech versus BYU. Got a new guest here, Trevor from the Saturday Warriors podcast. How are we doing today?
Doing great. Life is good. We got bowl season is upon us, so what's not to be happy about? Oh, and Christmas and other holidays. So, yeah.
That's right. Christmas right around the corner. Having some great bowl games, playoff games this past weekend. First off, wanted to ask Trevor, how'd you come up with Saturday Warrior? That's a pretty cool podcast original name.
It was not my idea. It was initially my. Oops. Did I lose you? Oh,
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah. So it wasn't even my idea. So this Saturday's Warrior is an old film. It was some musical amongst the members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It was kind of a big thing, like back in the 80s or something. It was probably before I was born when it came out. I don't even know if I've seen the whole thing, but somebody else made the comment. My brother-in-law, well, my brother's brother-in-law made the comment. That'd be a great podcast name. He didn't know I was thinking about doing this at the time. I was like, well, that is a good one. So I just ran with it.
Yeah, appreciate that. That's awesome. It's always good to come with a name. Yeah, Doghouse Podcast. I think it's another Doghouse podcast with different content on. So I had a original name years ago, was a less political name, and I'm glad I changed it when I did. So it's this is a better fit for now.
Okay. I'll take your word for
it. I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole, but anyway. Yeah, make sure to like, subscribe, share the Doghouse Podcast. We've been growing this year. A lot of good comments. Also, before we jump in the preview here, Trevor, I got to ask it, favorite Pop-Tart, if you had to pick one.
This might be my hottest take all night, but and this goes back to, when I was a kid, I've always been kind of partial to strawberry unfrosted.
Okay.
So no frosting. I know that's going to be controversial there, but for whatever reason, I think a close second is the brown sugar cinnamon.
Is our solid.
Having said that, it's been probably like a decade since I've had a Pop-Tart, but I might have to change that this weekend.
Yeah, there you go. Same here. Everybody ate it as a kid. I would have to say s'mores was pretty solid, especially when it kind of melted the chocolate when I was younger. And then I'd say blueberry with the sprinkles.
Oh.
And then what I used to like to do when it came out, the toaster, I was one of those peeled like all the brown endings, the endings around it. So just ate, like, of course, you're a little kid, just ate sweet Pop-Tart.
Okay.
I always thought that would have been one of those for like breadless bread, as you take the ends around the bread off. Probably similar to that, but anyway.
Okay. See, I like the crust. Maybe that's why I liked it without the strawberry or without the frosting. I don't know. But yeah, those are two flavors I haven't had. Maybe I'll have to mix it up this weekend and see if that brings some good mojo for BYU.
I've went down the cereal aisle and scanned it and been in gas stations and noticed it, but never eaten a Pop-Tart recently. Same here. It's been years. All right. Well, first off, Georgia Tech versus where's the Pop-Tart Bowl? I should probably know this from my research. Camping World Stadium.
Yeah.
Is that Florida?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So it's in Florida. Ooh, can't even remember the exact city for sure, but that is it's the old Tangerine Bowl is what it used to be. So.
And then I know Notre Dame didn't get involved, but I did hear maybe they got invited to the Pop-Tart Bowl and they didn't want to be known or whole part of the whole thing of opting out, I guess, or deciding not to. They took their ball and went home as they didn't want to go to the Pop-Tart Bowl, is a rumor I heard. They didn't want to be like, hey, Notre Dame ended up in the Pop-Tart Bowl. So somebody had to take
it's wild to me. It is beyond me. And I'm used to, a lot of these bigger, more blue blood fan bases, seem to have can sometimes look down on other programs and stuff, and you're kind of used to that, and you've earned it, whatever. But this was another level in my interactions with Notre Dame since this went down on Twitter. Notre Dame fans, I should say. It is just another level of egotism that I've seen, and just lack of self-awareness, because they were upset that they weren't, that they didn't get in the playoff, which I think is completely fair. Like the committee had signaled to them based on what the committee had told them, they felt like they were squarely in, and then they kind of changed their mind last second and put Miami in over them, which I think makes sense. Miami had the head-to-head. They were very similar in a lot of categories. Where I don't have a lot of sympathy for them is that BYU was better in almost every metric against Notre Dame, and I feel like BYU, if anybody had a real complaint about not getting into the playoff, it was BYU, based on the metrics that the committee said were important. But BYU wasn't even included in those conversations. But yes, I see why Notre Dame was upset. I think they're not wanting to. I've heard, well, we don't want ESPN to make more money off of us, and so they were upset about that, which is crazy because their program would benefit financially. I mean, no, you're not in the playoff, but this is still one of the top top non-playoff bowl games out there. And then to feel like it's beneath them, maybe because it's silly, they made a big show of it. I think it's a lot of fun. At this point, we know anything outside of the playoff in a bowl game is pointless. It's a glorified exhibition game. The Pop-Tarts Bowl has at least made it fun and entertaining. In its short time in existence, those have been games that have been fun, and they've made it kind of appointment television viewing. Like, this is something that's been a lot of fun. So I think for Notre Dame and BYU to square off as the first two teams left out of the playoff would have been a great venue and a great chance for both teams to come out and show what they have and say, hey, you guys made a mistake leaving us out. And so not taking that opportunity, it does. It seems like cowardice. It seems like, you said, taking their ball, going home, just whiny, entitled. And their fans have just echoed that sentiment every interaction that I've had or seen out there. But what's most crazy to me, aside from all of that, is I can't imagine how those players, those guys that aren't going on to the NFL, those seniors who are finishing their career, who played their last game against Stanford, believing that they would be putting on their uniform one more time, believing that they were going to suit up and play again, and then to have that, and it's just gone, like not even knowing that it wasn't going to be there. And granted, no, the Pop-Tart Bowl wouldn't have been the playoff. Yes, it would have been disappointing, but you'd still think you'd want that chance to suit up again, that chance to go to, and I just looked it up. It was Orlando, Florida, to go have a week, go get all the swag, go do the activities, go be with your team one last time and suit up and have that. And then take that from them. If you're like, fine, we don't need the money from the bowl game, whatever. We don't need the extra practices. We don't need the chance to develop more talent. We don't need all of that. At least think of the players. So that to me is just wild.
Yeah, all that is great points. I just think it's not a good look overall, and just join a conference. And I know there's financial decisions. I think they get $40 million from Peacock or NBC. They don't want to lose that, but they're in a conference in every other sport. Baseball, men's basketball, women's basketball. So I mean, I think it's going to be a continuing issue. And then next year, I think there's 2 ranked teams on their schedule, maybe, and that's not looking great again next year. I think they're going to run into the same problem. So,
well, actually,
we need to figure it out.
What's crazy, this came out just yesterday, is that USC and Notre Dame are canceling their scheduling series because they couldn't agree on when to play. Because I can't remember who it was. I don't know. It was, I think Notre Dame didn't want to play later in the season because they feel like they get burned if you lose late in the season. USC doesn't want to move the game when it was scheduled or whatever. So USC pulls out. Maybe I'm getting it wrong, but it's kind of a, back and forth. Both schools are being kind of petty or, can't come to agreement on this for this age-old rivalry. And this one isn't even being torn apart by realignment. This is just 2 programs not being able to make it work. And Notre Dame had canceled a series before against Michigan. So it's like these long-standing rivalries. They say they're all about tradition, and then they let these rivalries go. Crazy. But also what happened last week, the ACC announces that they are moving to half of their schools are moving to 9 in-conference games, and so some of them had to cancel one of their out-of-conference games. This meant BYU ended up getting kicked to the curb by Cal. So BYU had an open slot on their schedule. Notre Dame's opens up. The two actually scheduled each other, and this just came out last night. So it's crazy because here I am saying, like, Notre Dame's taking their ball going home. I hear they're losing their schedule with USC. I was like, man, these guys are just out of control. But then they turn around and schedule BYU for next year. And Notre Dame has not lived up to its scheduling agreements with BYU in the past. We've been trying to lock them down from the independence era of playing them at home, and they just kept kicking it down because we played them in Notre Dame. It was a great, low-scoring game. Two very defensive teams at the time. BYU loses it. Notre Dame never plays the return game. Finally does it back in is it 21 maybe, but they don't play in Provo. They want to play it in Vegas, but then they got like 75% or something like that of the tickets to sell to their fans or whatever. And it was just like all these concessions. So the fact that they scheduled BYU and that next year is going to be the game in Provo, so they can't do hey, we're going to play in South Bend this year and then not, then just kind of here's your buyout for your game that we were supposed to do in Provo. They're actually coming to Provo next year. So I'm actually really surprised about that. And that's great. I think both programs can really benefit from that, and it'll be a chance to do, whoever wins is going to have a very solid win, and whoever loses that game, again, you're going to have your famous, quality loss that you guys in the SEC love so much. So, it's a win-win, I think.
Yeah, good for you guys. Maybe I think you'll have half the nation, all the nation pulling for you. So yeah, maybe you'll smack them around.
Yeah, I mean, Notre Dame has not done themselves any favors with the way they've acted recently. So it's crazy. I mean, yeah, I don't know, but it should be a good one nonetheless.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then looking at Pop-Tart Bowl, I believe it's BYU -4.5 going against Georgia Tech, who gave Georgia, my Georgia Bulldogs, a little scare there. It was only 16-9, very closer than the experts thought. They did shut down Haynes King. It's Haynes King's swan song. He played really well there. Heisman Trophy candidate earlier in the year, and then I know they dropped, I think, three losses kind of at the end there. But it'd be interesting to see because they lost a lot of their offensive staff. Buster Faulkner going to Florida. I think some of their other guys, looks like Chris Winkie, I think, is going to be calling the plays. How about on BYU's side? How many opt-outs are you going to kind of hold the team together? How's that looking for you guys?
So I don't know of any opt-outs. We do have, and news just came out today, and I'm not surprised at all on the one, but we'll be without our two starting or our top two running backs. And LJ Martin was arguably, when healthy, BYU's best player this year.
Like 1,300 yards rushing right here, 1,305.
Yes. He's a stud. He was injured. He came back. I believe it was something with his shoulder blade. I've heard conflicting things, but regardless, he had some injury, ended up coming back. He was not really at full strength the first time we played Tech, really, or throughout the rest of the season, but got well enough that he could, that he played and continued to, his very impressive season. But he'll be missing it. I heard, I don't think this was in the report, but I heard it somewhere on the side that he's got that operated on and was already trying to get healthy for presumably going to the NFL draft. He still has another year of eligibility. We'd love to have him back, but honestly, it's probably the smart thing, especially for running backs this day and age, and especially with his health history, to strike while the iron's hot and go, go live his dreams. So that's probably what he's up to. The other running back was surprising. He'd missed most of the season, so we'd really been playing with only one real serviceable running back most of the season. And he finally got back healthy for that last game against Texas Tech, and apparently got re-injured. So he's out as well. So we'll be very thin. Fortunately, Bear Bachmeier, our quarterback, runs like a fullback. He's happy to to carry it. Obviously, you don't want to put him in harm's way, but he's more than capable of moving the ball that way. But that is going to hurt BYU's run game for sure. It might make us a little bit more one-dimensional. So that's a little bit concerning.
Yeah. Okay, good. And then for a lot of people maybe that hasn't watched, BYU on the West Coast, what's some strengths and weaknesses? And in this matchup, how are you feeling against Georgia Tech? Pretty much to me, Haynes King's the whole team, but this might look like a completely different offense with Buster Faulkner leaving for Florida.
Yeah, so we had on Rec Talk on our show, one of our college huddle
Yeah, he's great.
Patriots there from Georgia Tech, and he came into that pretty gloomy. He's not too optimistic about the bowl game because of so many coaches on the offensive side leaving, some other guy, some other changes, opt-out, injuries, whatever, and so he does not feel like they'll be full strength and that they'll have much to compete with. I don't know if I fully agree. I'm not obviously as close to the Georgia Tech program as he follows it, but I would say BYU's strength, our run game has been one, so that missing that will obviously hurt us. We can pass it. We've got receivers. We have weapons out there. So we'll see what the offense is able to do. I really like this defense, and looking at how BYU performed against the top quarterbacks in the Big 12 that we faced, even Baron Morton and at least the regular season matchup we had with them, all saw a dip in compared to their average stats throughout the regular season. And so I like BYU's chance to go in there, cause a little bit of havoc, make Haynes King a little uncomfortable, and put pressure on him and put our offense in a good position where hopefully we don't need to rely so heavily on the run game. Because honestly, to tell you the truth, BYU, that's something done well at, is controlling time of possession, getting a lead. It doesn't even have to be a big lead, but getting the lead and just continually running the rock, wearing down the defense, and holding the ball, owning the clock. And, while in the first half, maybe it's a little bit more back and forth, by the time you get to the end of the third quarter, the fourth quarter, and the other defense is worn down, then it's kind of becomes an avalanche, which is exactly what Texas Tech essentially did to BYU. They just out BYU'd BYU in their own game, and we saw things fall apart. And so, again, without the really strong run game, I am a little worried in that regard, just because that's so core to BYU's identity this year. Having said that, I do think that there's a lot of other weapons on offense for BYU to utilize.
Yeah, and then Georgia, watching Georgia Tech play Georgia, they definitely got up for them. I felt like they were really motivated. That was kind of like their Super Bowl, because before that they struggled a whole lot. NC State put 500-600 yards on them. They struggle a lot. Haynes King's going to be very resilient. He's probably going to get up for his last game. You can move the ball on their defense, so it will be an interesting game to watch. And wanted to put you on the spot. What's your score prediction for the game?
Oh, we didn't even do that the other night when we talked to Rec Talk. I should have had something queued up here. Give me 1 second. Let me look at.
Point spreads for BYU minus 4.5.
Yeah, well, and we didn't have the news of LJ Martin. I just got that today, or Sione Moa. That's the other thing. The fact that we're out, not even our number 2 running back, and nobody else has really been able to give us too much. Let me look. They've struggled a little bit, and they've put up a lot of points as of late. I like BYU to get to in the 30s. Let's say, I don't know. Maybe I'm trying to do some math. What's a realistic score here? Let's say 31-21. Let's say BYU wins it by 10.
Okay, I like it. 31-21, Pop-Tarts poll, covering the spread. So all the degenerate gamblers out there or gamblers will like that.
Do not bet on my score predictions. I had last year, I started off with one where I nailed it. I was I was almost exact, and the other one was really close, and I thought I had it, and the rest of my score predictions were not so close after that. So no magic here. So don't you if you want to gamble on it, that's fine, but don't hold me accountable.
I got you. No problem. And then I did want to ask that, was there any nervousness knowing that Penn State was flirting with your coach at all, or offering some crazy money? Anything there? And how do you pronounce his name again? I don't want to say it wrong.
Kalani Sitake.
Kalani Satake. Okay.
Yeah, so it's actually a lot of those names. It's hard because they have a lot of vowels, and we're not as familiar with it generally. But when you start looking at it and break it down, it's actually pretty phonetic, pretty consistent there. Yeah, so the Penn State issue. When I first heard it, I just rolled my eyes. I was like, "This is just another one. People are trying to make stink of this, and it's nothing." And then there was a couple people who I think are connected that I started seeing panic a little bit on Twitter. And so then I reached out to my source and I was like, okay, I'm seeing these guys say stuff. How nervous should I be? He's like, don't be too nervous. This is real, but don't be too nervous. And I just kept seeing stuff. And then he told me, he's like, well, it's heating up, but offers on the table. And I think it's looking good. And so I kind of I took his word, and so I wasn't as panicked as maybe some BYU fans, because we've been through this before. There were talks with USC, Oregon. His name was thrown out for UCLA earlier this season, which why would anyone want to go there? He's in a good situation, but he's a BYU guy. He played at BYU, loves Lavelle Edwards, and really sees him as his idol. He'd love to, I think, be a lifer here at BYU until he was ready to retire. So I was like, this is where he wants to be. Penn State seems like a weird fit. It's outside of really where he's ever coached, his recruiting, all of that. I don't know in terms of culture. They clearly, want to develop a strong culture there, and they see themselves as being wanting to be right there with the Michigans and Ohio States of the Big Ten. Not to talk about culture issues with those schools, but you know what I mean. And so it felt like a weird fit. I just didn't really see it at first. Having said that, it really heated up. Turns out it probably was a lot more real than I ever wanted to believe while it was actually happening. So I don't know, but at the end of the day, he wanted to be at BYU. It was a matter of whether BYU was going to step up to provide what he needed to stay. Because at some point, like, the money's so big that's just generational wealth. You can't really say no to that. And I felt like BYU probably doesn't even have to match Penn State's offer, as long as they can get close and offer him other resources, which is what happened. Then he'll be a happy man, and he's where he wants to be. And what's great about a lot of it is he didn't just get a pay raise for himself. He got pay raise for his coaching staff, so he can try to retain the guys that have helped the program over the last few years turn into what it is. And also some commitments for additional resources and NIL, and I think facilities and things. So all things that are really trending up for BYU and showing that the program is serious about investment in the program. So really glad he's staying. I mean, it's always a good day when you can fend off a program of that caliber which comes in and tries to get your coach. So we're really happy about that.
That's good. And I think it was a win-win. You guys got to keep your guy there. He's a BYU guy. And then also I believe Penn State had a good hire with Matt Campbell. So I think it's a win-win.
Yeah, Matt Campbell will probably do well. It stinks. You don't want to see a Big 12, from that perspective, getting poached or pillaged. I mean, obviously, that's our competitor. So I guess seeing them get taken down a notch, but you want to see the conference continue to go strong. But yeah, Matt Campbell will probably continue to do really well at Penn State, and he was a solid coach. So I think it worked out well for Penn State.
Yeah.
Probably more of a natural fit for Penn State, honestly.
Yeah, totally agree. I think they're pretty happy with it. And then looking at the college football first round of playoffs, couple of really competitive games. The other two, I think everybody kind of knew it was going to be a blowout. First off, starting out with Oklahoma and Alabama. Oklahoma jumping up on them 17-0 at home. Place was rocking, and then they slowly got to give it to Alabama for slowly being resilient and get back into the game. I think the pick six changes the game. there's always that stat. I think it's 89% of games the team that gets pick six wins. And then they made adjustments, and Oklahoma just couldn't do anything in the second half. Missing 2 field goals with the kicker with the Daisy Dukes on. I think he's a Broyles award-winning kicker, and it missed 2, and they just couldn't get going. So good win for Alabama. And then Miami and Texas A&M, that was a rock fight, 10-3. If you would have told me Texas A&M at home, 12 o'clock, with that stadium rocking, you only can get 3 points. I know the win was a factor, missing all the field goals. And then the other 2 were blowouts. Ole Miss took care of business over Tulane, 41-10. Early in the year, they won 45-10, so pretty much a repeat. And then Oregon was rolling on James Madison, even though James Madison did put 34 points, but I think it was 31-6 at one time, or 36. So those 2 games. I know there's a whole thing in Notre Dame. I'm sure it was on Twitter, hey, we should have got in over these, but it is what it is. But I'm really excited about the quarterfinal games. Oregon against Texas Tech. You'll kind of see who Texas Tech is against Oregon. Really good team. Indiana against Alabama. Indiana number 1 coming in off that Ohio State win. Ole Miss going against Georgia in a rematch in the Sugar Bowl. And then Ohio State against Miami, which is very interesting. What's your thoughts on maybe the quarterfinal games or round 1?
Yeah, so, well, first off, the Miami-Texas A&M game. And I saw Miami fans saying, hey, if Miami were in this game, they would have dropped, 20, I don't remember what they're saying, 20 points by now. And dude, you lost to both these teams.
Yeah.
Shut up. But anyway, that's enough about Notre Dame. Yeah, so Miami. So here's my thing about the playoff. There are a lot of teams that are playoff worthy teams. When we're talking about, well, Notre Dame missed out, BYU missed out. You can go down the list. There's some others that had a case, probably not as strong, but had a case.
Vanderbilt, Texas, maybe. Case, man.
Yeah,
Vanderbilt, maybe 2 losses.
Fine.
Yeah.
I'm not as convinced, but yes, there's teams out there all making a case, and that's fine. And I believe that many of those teams, even Utah, who wasn't really in the conversation, Utah is capable of it. Many of those teams are capable of coming into the playoff and winning at least a game. So that's not to say that they're not playoff worthy teams. There's lots of playoff worthy teams, more than 12. Having said that, there's only a handful of teams that I think are truly capable of winning the championship. And so when you look at some of these matchups, Miami, I think, is a playoff worthy team. Again, I still feel like BYU is more worthy, but I do think Miami was a playoff caliber team. And they proved it. They beat A&M, who, thought that they were pretty great this year, and they lost that game. So, but they're going up against Ohio State. I think that'll be too much. Georgia, Ole Miss. I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure I really believed in Ole Miss all season. And so I just look at these games. I just kind of see and then Indiana, Alabama. I think Indiana is legit as well. And Alabama is kind of more on that mold of a Miami. I think they're more there right now. So I see those 3 games going pretty much chalk. The most interesting game is Texas Tech and Oregon. Obviously, it's a 4-5 matchup. Obviously, I'm biased here because BYU got handled by Texas Tech twice, but I do think Texas Tech is legit, especially their defense. I know Oregon thinks that they're pretty great, although from what I saw this season a little bit, and I'm trying to look at their schedule, I think they're a little bit overrated. I mean, they barely got past Penn State, which at the time was a really good game and a great win. And they continued to ride off the coattails of that game while Penn State continued to sink lower and lower. So, they have some solid wins, but nothing overly incredible. So I do like Texas Tech in that game, but we're really I think we'll learn a lot about both these teams depending on how that game goes.
Yeah, it should be really interesting. Got a question for you real quick. I heard on another podcast, and it kind of got me thinking. is so last year all the number 1 seeds with the buys lost. Do you think it's a better chance that all the number 1 seeds that got a bye lose again, or is it a better chance that they win all their games? Like what you said, all the favorites win.
Yeah, I I still like the higher seeds in these games. Um, I I just don't see it. Like last year, 4 games, like, and everybody used that as like a trend. Was it all 4 of them, or was it?
Yeah.
It was all
Nope.
4 of them. Okay.
Ohio
I knew.
State was ranked 6th. They ended up just getting hot, man. They were a buzzsaw on the national
Oh
title. They
yeah.
were ranked 6th.
So yeah, I was like, that's such a small sample size, and for us to like take, oh, this is the way it's going to be. Now, if it
Yeah.
happens 2 years in a row where a majority, or if this year, even if half of them, I wouldn't be fully convinced. It would have to be 3 of them, 3 or 4 of them would have to lose. The buy teams, that is, would have to lose this year for me to like really start buying into that. I think at this point, if you see a couple of them win, especially with like a 4-5 and a 3-6 matchup, I wouldn't put too much stock in that just yet. And so I just need more data, I guess, at this point to see that. But so I would say it's more likely that all of the buy teams win this year than seeing all 4 of them lose again. But what do I know? We'll see. And that's the great part about it, is that's why we play the game.
Yeah.
Let's play it out. We don't have to just imagine it on paper. Like, we get to actually watch them play it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Appreciate it. All right. You being a Big 12 guy, Trevor, on the hot seat, who's your 2 teams that make the national championship and who wins if you had to pick?
Oh,
We got you a neutral guy, so I know you won't be too much of a homer.
Texas Tech all the way. No, that's who I'm rooting for. Obviously,
Okay.
it'll validate BYU a little bit, but no, I mean, right now it's hard to pick against Indiana and Ohio State. But then again, the Big Ten is so top heavy that it's really hard to say. Like, are they really as good as they look? They seem to be. I actually grew up in Michigan, so I will never pick Ohio State. I've never select them. I'll never root for them. I just won't. But I don't know. I mean, they are really good. So I don't know. It would be hard not to think that they have a real shot at doing it again. Indiana, while I'm not exactly a big fan of the Big Ten as of late, it's a great story. The school has just consistently been really, really bad at football. To see them transform their program and become elite is really exciting. So I want to say Indiana goes all the way. That would be really great, a great story and feel good. But I am on a Bulldog podcast, so I do want to say that, Georgia, obviously, I told you I had them making it to the next round, and I'd be rooting for them over Ohio State if that's who they face. So I don't know, but yeah, I would say most likely one of those probably 3 teams, it feels like, is probably best positioned to win it all. I don't see Ole Miss. Maybe getting rid of Lane Kiffin is addition by subtraction. Who knows? And I just don't think Oregon, Alabama, and Miami are really built for it. I think Texas Tech is good enough. I think with their quarterback, Baron Morton, being a little hobbled, their offense is definitely good, but their defense is what's carrying that team. And that goes a long way, especially in this postseason. But we'll see if their offense is able to do enough to complement that defense and help them make a deep run into the playoff. But those 2 Big Ten schools, I don't even want to say the one, and Indiana, they're really legit, and Georgia looks really solid right now too. If you don't think too much about that Georgia Tech game.
Yeah, we're still high off the belt to ass 28-7 over Alabama. We're still riding high on that. We're getting, hopefully get some guys back and we're healing up. But yeah, I like the matchup against Ole Miss. I think we got a favorable bracket, but we'll see.
Yeah, you definitely avoid, having Ole Miss, and then if you had to choose Ohio State and Indiana, like, I'd rather be on Ohio State side of the bracket, right there. So I think that's you got it set up about as well as you can, and you get to play in the Sugar Bowl, which is pretty cool. That's because I'm looking at it. I mean, that's where the SEC, traditionally is slated is to play in the
Yep.
Sugar Bowl. So that's a good one. I'm just thinking about how these played out. Indiana getting to play in the Rose Bowl, which is not big. Well, I guess it's now Big Ten territory, but not really in Indiana's wheelhouse. But getting to play in that traditional Big Ten bowl game is pretty good. And then, yeah, I mean, Ohio State, Miami, Cotton Bowl. I mean, neither one of them has any. That's less weird than Tech and Oregon in the Orange Bowl. So I don't know. I'm just trying to think about these locales. But then if you win that, you end up in the Fiesta Bowl. So that's kind of a weird one for Ohio State and Georgia too. If that ends up being the matchup, that's I don't know. But it doesn't really matter. I think both fan bases are going to show up big time for those games. So
Yeah, I'm excited.
interesting.
Yeah, man.
Too bad you didn't get on the Peach Bowl side of the bracket though. That would have been nice.
Yeah. We played there. Yeah, we played SEC championship game. Yeah, we play in Mercedes-Benz a lot. Yeah, that would have been like a home away from home.
Yeah. My brother's in Atlanta, and regardless of who's playing, he likes to go to the Peach Bowl every year.
Okay.
It just always goes, and so
Nice, man.
we'll see. That makes us even harder watching Texas Tech go and potentially be like, oh man, what could last year? Same thing. Arizona State ended up going for the Big 12 and playing in the Peach Bowl. I just thought, man, BYU, man, I could have been at this game, but. Anyway, it is what it is. No sense pulling an Uncle Rico and wishing he could go back. So
yes, that's right. Yeah, appreciate you coming on today, Trevor, and good luck to your Cougars. And how do we follow Saturday Warrior podcast?
Yeah, so find me. I've all my content's on YouTube. I've also got Twitter. You can see if you're watching, you can see my handle there, and I should, let's see, that is my full YouTube handle right there on Twitter. It's at Sats War BYU. I need to change that, make that a little bit easier. It was like a contraction of it because I didn't have enough space. So anyway, but yeah, come check me out. All my content, we're out. We usually go out Monday nights, but we go live right after games to react, and so we'll be on Saturday after the bowl game, as well as a lot of other content, breaking down realignment and whatnot, all the other good stuff out there. So yeah, please come join us. Love talking college football and not just BYU, not just Big 12, but all together. So, but yeah, appreciate you having me on too.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on, Trevor. Yeah, check those guys out on Saturday Warriors on Twitter and YouTube, getting close to that 2,000 subscribers, which is impressive.
Yeah, help us keep going up. It's a big help to get up there as we try to get a bigger reach and get more people involved in the conversation, which is why we do this, right? We love the conversation, love getting involved with everyone out there watching as well.
That's right. Appreciate it. Hope you have happy holidays. Go Cougars, and hopefully you get you a Pop-Tart for the Pop-Tart Bowl.
Yeah, that's right. I'll be eating Pop-Tarts. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.